Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me, Amanda T. here on Create Your Future. I am so grateful you're here. I intend that you all like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. Before I get into this subscriber requested video and the client success stories, I want to remind you that I'm still 50% off one-on-one coaching, and go ahead and check out our free course on how to get past those blocks and manifest anything quickly. Before I dive into that though, I've been intending to do this for a long time. I did want to show off some evidence of my free vacation, and I'll do the car thing soon. So here is the $100 food and beverage credit that I received, as well as the paperwork for the 2-night stay in the little town that I wanted to go to. Now, you guys, if you've seen that video, you know that this is actually the second vacation I've won from this company. The first one was a week in Disneyland. So go check out that video. Client success stories. I have a couple good ones. I'm gonna not do all of them because it would be a very long video. But so I have a client. She's a new client, and kudos to her. It's kind of a shout out. She got a new phone. We've been doing mostly SP, but she wanted to talk about the phone. It's a nice new phone. She was already on a plan, probably like $100 a month or something, and she wanted to have the phone, but not. She could afford it, but she didn't want to afford it. So she had a grace period where she could decide either to keep the phone or return it. And we decided while we were talking that we would go to the store to return it, but we weren't going to return it. We talked about a rebate. We talked about a promotional offer. We talked about a credit appearing on her account that would allow her to keep the phone. She told me, Amanda, before I went into AT&T or T-Mobile, whatever it was, I was in my car in the driver's seat looking, into the store through the windshield. And I affirmed and I visualized. And when she went in there, you guys, she received such a credit on her account that it allowed her to keep the phone for only $8 more additional each month. So congratulations to you. Also, another client, she's getting really good at everyone as you pushed out, you guys. So for example, she was not feeling well. She's a Sunday school teacher in her free time, and she did not want the kids to show up that day. She was just not feeling well. She kept visualizing that she was left alone in the dark just to nurse her head. And that's exactly what happened. No kids showed up that day. And in fact, a couple of the kids were on their way, she found out, but not once, but twice, ended up getting rerouted and turned around and going home. So they did not make it to class that day because the 3D had to go with her manifestation. Another thing that she did is she's been doing really good. She's been getting, I think it's like 6 to 10 times she's been taken out for a free lunch in the past like 8 weeks. And she hadn't seen this friend in a while. She's very social. So she manifests this friend making contact, and the friend invites her to lunch at this restaurant. My client says, that's great, sounds good, let's do it. But this time was a little different. This time she wanted to go to a particular restaurant in a particular town. So she affirmed and visualized that that's where they went. Well, on the way to pick her up, the restaurant ended up changing again. My client says, okay, sounds good. Let's go to Sizzler or wherever it was. I don't even know if that exists anymore. I heard it on TV. Anyways, my client says, that sounds great, let's go there. But in the passenger seat, she is affirming and she is visualizing for the restaurant of her choice. So when they go to the gas station, once again, the friend suggests a different restaurant because the 3D is starting to conform to what she wants. And instead of saying yes, and I mean, she does say, yes, let's go to that restaurant, but she doesn't stop it there. Remember, she continues to visualize. She affirmed and revisualized that they were at the restaurant of her choice. So I think it changed like 3 times or something, but she ended up going to the restaurant that she wanted. So that was so great. You guys are never done manifesting. It's something I've been talking about in my videos lately, more with my clients, that, you don't just throw in the towel. You're not done until it's what you want. So now let's get into the topic of this video. I'm very excited. So on my video, Money Isn't Real, a subscriber left this comment. It says, what if people, and I'm paraphrasing, what if people keep jabbering on about negative things? Like, what if someone robs you? What if someone falls ill? What about toxic things? So, I'm going to address each one of these a little bit separately because I actually consider them a little bit separate, but also a little bit together. So what if someone's jabbering on about negative things? Okay, well, that happens a little bit. People could say things like, oh, things are so expensive, or, the 3D things we hear the most. Normally that things are expensive. I think I've heard that probably my whole life, which is interesting because I've never seen things as expensive unless it wasn't really worth its value in my mind. So it really is just a mindset. But let's not talk about that right now. Let's talk about the people jabbering on. That's also a mindset. If someone's talking to you and you're trying to have a polite conversation, remember everything you say, everything you're thinking, these are manifestations. These are affirmations. They have real power. You don't want just to agree with someone who's like, oh, I'm running out of money and blah, 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 blah. I'm so sorry to hear that. I intend it turns around completely. That way you can sound very normal. I intend everything turns around for you. That hasn't been my experience. Not everybody's going to have the same experience. There's people that have a lot more money than others and stuff like that. So to them, it wouldn't be an experience. And the point of that is that you don't want to take it on as your experience. It is okay to keep that distance, to keep the separation there. You don't want to necessarily go into their bubble and start to feel and think that you're experiencing that with them just to make the conversation sound good. For example, I remember one time everything was going great. Everything was skyrocketing. And then I was in the same situation. Someone's talking about they don't like their job. They don't like this, but at least it keeps the roof over their head and blah, blah. And, I'm like, oh yeah. And they're like, how are you? And I was like, oh, I'm trudging along. I don't know why I said that. It has stuck with me to this day, because let me tell you, that week then did a very sudden turnaround. I hadn't been trudging. I had been just gliding on air, just riding cloud nine around. And then I was trying to speak of the language, I guess. And that was a mistake. And it also wasn't necessary. How's life? Oh, it's going really good. Oh, things are good. I'm fine. Could have said anything else, So you can always keep that distance between you and them while also keeping a nice conversation. You can also affirm, wow, I found, as they're talking in my brain, I found out everything is really cheap lately. I seem to have everything on sale. Well, where's she shopping? That sounds expensive. I would not say things like, oh, wow, okay, well, the next time I go to Target, it's going to cost me, more money than I intended. No, not at all. You want to keep that separation. You don't want to hold on in. I know I said it a lot, but I really mean it. I really mean it, you guys. Now let's talk about toxic things, because I consider that a little bit different than just negative gossiping jibber jabber. If someone's really being toxic and disrupting you, that can be a little difficult. I would really suggest booking coaching, obviously. And then also, so you could do a couple different things. You can just say, if someone's being really toxic and holding you down, you do have a choice to respect the 3D and just kind of say sayonara and manifest you in a little bit. I actually like to kind of distance myself before I manifest, and then it's, a recreation of them. But that's a personal choice, and I don't do it all the time. But so if someone's being really toxic, what are they being toxic about? Are their behaviors, their boundaries, their language, how they speak to you, things like that? Is it demeaning? Whatever you assume it is, maybe they are having some sort of an addiction crisis or something. Okay, well, we can fix all of that. In fact, I've worked with people on addiction and stuff like that, or very sabotaging behaviors. So if you have an SP or a family member that's doing those things, you really need to manifest the opposite in how you see them. Let the past be the past. Kill that old story. They used to. I remember in the past, that was so negative and toxic. Thank God they're better now. They're so much better now. I remember in the past how that happened. Not that you're supposed to be sitting around talking about it, but as you're manifesting and thinking about it, again, create that distance, create that separation from there was that reality, that was then, and this is now. And now SP, my family member, is generous and emotionally mature. And, they haven't, they've taken up exercise and they haven't had a drink in 6 months. Whatever you need to turn around in that toxic relationship, you can turn that around. And that's why I love manifesting so much, because that's all it takes. This person goes from, picturing like a mean bear, like just a mean grumpus. And and you're like, they are the nicest, kindest person. They're always there for me. They're 100% supportive. They're always encouraging me. They're my cheerleader. They're more dependable than they've ever been before. Whatever you really need, and think about what you need. Because if you are creating because you're creating this toxicness. That's part of your creation. You need to also stop that. So for example, I had a client, this isn't really necessarily a good toxic example, but it's just a very good example about what you're creating versus what you say you want. So for example, every year on her birthday, her SP would just get her a card. And multiple times during our sessions, she would talk about how much she loved the card, and they had like these funny cards they liked. So she wanted the card. And then she would talk about how sometimes that's all she'd get. And she would plan these huge birthdays for her SP, friends, money, food. It's all involved. It's a whole day thing. And then she would say, I want that. And she would be manifesting for a big birthday, which she did get, you guys. But she also got her fun card. But she would also say this, and it was completely contradictory. She would say, if all I got was a card from him, I would be happy. And yes, that's true, because that is the sentiment. That is how much you love this person. If you two were poor as church mice, is what I ended up telling her, you would absolutely love that card with all of your heart and just accept it plainly. However, that's not the case. You want as much effort as you are pouring into him. You want him to pour it into you. So when you say you just want a card, and then you're wondering how you've created just getting a card, when you've also been affirming that you want these things, because it doesn't match. It's contradictory. So we fixed that. She had a wonderful birthday party. She was out with friends and with SP, and they went to a restaurant. And it was a whole day thing. But you have to make sure that what you're saying you want, and like I said, the sentiment was there. That was really what she wanted, was just that close, loving, endearing relationship, because she feels that in her heart. But the 3D showing of it, she wanted it to be bigger. So make sure that your words and your thoughts and your actions are matching your manifestation. Now, what if somebody falls ill? Well, I don't know if you've seen my earlier videos. Obviously, there's a lot more new subscribers. Said that eloquently. Anywho, actually, my dad's been fighting cancer for a few years, but right when I started Create Your Future, I mean, he took a dive, and it was really bad, and my family was really freaked out. And honestly, you guys, I followed my own advice, much to the chagrin of my family, because they really didn't understand. They were starting to panic. My dad had stopped walking. My dad had stopped talking. And it was really looking bad. And people were coming to say goodbye. And I'm like, wait. We've missed all these steps. Like, he was just fine, and I don't like this. And instead of joining in that circle and talking to him and doing those things, I went into my bathroom, locked the door, turned up my music as loud as I could, kind of like a teenager, but I was affirming and I was visualizing. And within like less than 48 hours, my dad was talking. My dad was walking. My dad had left the hospital, and now he works in the garage and takes the dog for a walk, and they're expecting him to live for a lot longer. Part of that, like I said, so if somebody falls ill, I am not just the manifester for my father. I am also my father's doctor. I am also my father. I am also the hospital. Everything, everyone is me pushed out, and I have created all of it. It's very big and substantial. So, if I feel, of course, I'm manifesting and visualizing that he's in perfect health, and, all of his genes are renewing in the blood cell, all of these different things. But I'm also just manifesting, because this is what works for me, and it can work for you too, that the doctor finds a new drug. They find a new thing to try. They really want to help him. They're really going to give it their all. They're, emotionally involved with this patient. They want to see him succeed. So they're going to pull out everything they can. And one of the things I said, I affirmed for a new drug. Give us a new drug. Give us something new to try to renew. I have 5D hope. My dad's kind of living in the 3D. Renew his hope. Give him faith that there's a new drug to try that will turn this around. And so they said, hey, there's this new drug. Let's try it. And my dad's been really excited. Oh, this new drug has got me this. This new drug has got me that. That's fine. That's great. I don't need like some sort of praise. I just want him to be okay. So for me, if that's manifesting a doctor, awesome. If that's manifesting a drug, awesome. If that's me manifesting that, everything is healing and regenerating and building, awesome. It's all great. Let's say somebody robs you. Let's say you get robbed. That would obviously feel very vulnerable, and obviously, I keep on forgetting the word. I'm going to remember it in the middle of another sentence. Violating. Thank you. Grateful. I would feel very violated. I especially understand. I don't know. I hope nobody here ever gets robbed because I don't even like to share. I don't like people touching my stuff. I'm one of those people. I'm like, did you touch my stuff? Don't touch my stuff. It moved a quarter of an inch. But then I'm also very like, oh, who cares? It depends, right? So I can understand. Oh, okay. Anyway, so I can understand, you know, if you're getting robbed, you're going to think that's the worst thing that ever happened. What about my laptop? What about my TVs? What about my family jewelry and stuff like that? And I can understand how that would be terrible and how it would be a bad day, you know, and I would manifest, I would affirm that, you know, I get my jewelry back. It's found in a pawn shop, that, you know, somebody gives me a really nice TV that, you know, maybe they just bought it, or maybe they were buying an upgrade and their old TV is even better than mine. And so they decide to give it over. You guys, when my late husband, he died in a car accident in my car. So I lost not only a person, but my car and stuff like that. And I had 2 different people offer me free cars, which was really great. There's always, because money isn't real, it is an energy. So you can get your need met by someone who wants to help you, who wants to be there for you. And while these seem like really negative things, remember, it's a paradox. There are people who steal things and there are people who give things. And so we want to focus on, my home is always divinely protected. Anyone who ever enters my house or is around my house, they actually care about that house and they want nothing, no harm to come to it. They're looking out for me. Everybody in the world is looking out for me. They want, you know, me to be safe, my possessions to be safe, the animals in my home to be safe. You know, it's a way of looking at it. It's a mindset. It's a mental diet. But for the point of this video, there is going to be hard days. We have all lived through a hard day, but we can make it better. It's not over till it's over. You know, it's kind of hard to say this, but it's like, they're not dead yet. Unless something's like dead, gone, finito, there's an opportunity. There's a chance there. It's not over until the fat lady sings, you know, and that's kind of how I look at it. I've got as much time as I am alive in order to build riches, in order to make relationships, in order to grow, in order to have a very positive life. And life might throw some negative jibber jabber, some toxic people and things, some family members falling ill, people stealing your stuff. It's gonna happen. We've all had something happen, but it's just part of the journey and the experience. And what matters is how you come out of that. You can always come out of it. Speaking from experience, literally speaking from experience. There's a story in my family. Now, we're not like an immigrant family or anything like that, but my dad, at one point, his dad had died. His mom was kind of doing her own thing, and he was left with like $8. He remembers at one point very much in his life only having $8. And he said, you know, as long as I have that, I can afford a meal. I could afford something to drink. Like, I have everything. And so that's kind of the mindset I've grown up with. Like, it doesn't matter how bad things can get. They can always turn around. It can always be better. You can always be the one who achieves. What was it, like Joey from Friends, Matt LeBlanc? You know, he got his first paycheck and he bought his first hot meal. You know, I think The Rock was living in his car at one point, you know, before he became famous. Like, don't give in to the 3D. Don't give into it, because you can create, people can catastrophize from these low energies, from these victim mode, from the woe is me, from this person's sick and this went wrong and that went wrong. And there might be a day where that happens. You know what? It happens to us all. But the next day, the next thought, your next action, your next vocalization should be one that puts you in the reality you want. Go to the reality you want. The universe is with you. We at Create Your Future are all with you. We're here. Watch our videos. We love you so much. I intend this video helps. You all have a great day. Bye-bye.